Hi, I'm Bill Pearis, an editor of Brooklyn Vegan, and you're listening to the Brooklyn Vegan Interviews podcast, which features conversations with some of our favorite musicians and artists. This week, we've got a real treat. Fred Armisen is with us. You know him from SNL, Wednesday, Los Espookies, and other stuff. And he's also an accomplished musician who played in Chicago punk band Trenchmouth before breaking into comedy. He's also shared the stage behind the drum kit with Devo, Yo La Tengo, and more. And those two worlds often collide around him, like on his stand-up comedy tour, Comedy for Musicians, But Everyone is Welcome. Fred has just released a new album titled 100 Sound Effects that is just that. It's a sound effects album, though it is one only Fred Armisen could have made. We get into that and how the late Steve Albini played a part in it and the surprising difficulties there are with creating your own sound effects record. Along the way, there are digressions into 80s marimba wave and Sophistipop, singing Foreigner in an episode of Wednesday, that show's upcoming Uncle Fester spinoff, 5 records Fred thinks everyone should own, and more. All right, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Fred Armisen. All right, today we're talking with comedian, actor, musician, producer, director, a true multi-hyphenate, Fred Armisen. His album is titled 100 Sound Effects. Fred, thanks so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So this album, it's literally 100 sound effects.
Yeah, it's actually 101, but yeah, it's like it's supposed to be 100 and then one extra
Bonus track or something.
Yeah.
At what point did this go from just being like a funny idea to something I'm going to actually make?
There was a period where I was thinking, I was sort of lamenting that there weren't any sound effects records around, or I just hadn't seen one in a while. And then there was like a month of like, oh, I wonder if this is something that might be fun to do. And then I just thought, well, if I get started, even if I do 5 sound effects, then I'll feel like I'm on my way. I didn't want to just like walk around with a recorder and just, do what would amount to just like only field work. I was like, I think I should go to a studio and make it a real project. So then I got in touch with Steve Albini, told him the idea, and I didn't want to do it in too limited amount of time. Like I wanted to be able to do it over the course of a few months or something. So he lives in Chicago, I live in LA, and I just asked him if he knew of anyone in LA I could record with. Because ideally, I'd record at Electrical Audio. It'd be fun to work with him, but we were just in 2 different cities. And then once Steve started getting in touch with people to kind of help me do that, and studios and stuff, that's when it became a real project. That's when I was actually booking time. And I'm glad, because I think I kind of needed that. I needed to make it official. Otherwise, I think I would have just collected sounds and it just would have, I don't know, if it might just have taken too long.
Was there a place that you wanted to start? Did you have an idea for like the first thing you wanted to do?
I thought if I do music sound effects, meaning a drum sound check, tuning a guitar, walking through a Guitar Center, I felt like at least I would have a grasp on what it's supposed to be. So if I'm at a studio, or when I was at a studio, I could plug in an amp and, do the fake tuning of a guitar. And then I didn't have to search too much. Then I was like, okay, that's done. That's an easy one. Mm-hmm. Then for walking through a Guitar Center, that was like layers of that. That was like a little bit of drums. And so it's almost like treating it like recording music, but it was really sound effects. And then the benefit is that they were all really short. They were only a few seconds. So I didn't have to belabor, is this mix good or any of that stuff.
It seems like there's definite like themes within the record. Every like 10 or so tracks, it sort of changes. Like there's a lot of car rental stuff. There's some camping stuff. Did you just like try to write down things you thought would be fun, or?
Yeah, it was as simple as that. And I had like a notebook, just to kind of organize like, okay, what's an area that I can get 5 to 10 different recordings, and then it could be its own category. And so I did music, and then I thought, okay, what about theater, like little theaters, like little one-man show places or stand-up comedy places. And then from there, let's say I had 20 sounds. I thought, what's missing? What's something that can offset it so that it doesn't become too much of one thing? That's how I kept going. I thought, okay, now that we need to be outdoors. But there are a bunch that I wasn't able to get because I wanted to make sure that this comes out in time. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't want it to linger too long. So I wish I had, maybe I'll just do another album at some point, but I didn't have enough sports ones. I wanted to do hitting a baseball, kicking a soccer ball, stuff like that. But that's for another time, I guess.
You do have some classics on here, though. You've got a variety of breaking glass. You've got some haunted house effects. There is one haunted house effects that took me a while to figure out, and that's the one where haunted ghost goes upstairs, but there's problems with the door.
Yeah. So I just thought, like, if you wanted to use the sound effect as just a ghost, you can always cut it off. Like, say you're making a horror movie or something, or if you're doing a haunted mansion, an amusement park kind of thing or whatever, a Halloween, a haunted house. But I thought, what's a version of like a ghost who like goes up and then like not everything works, the door doesn't open or there's nobody home. I think I did one where, because I wonder if that happens, where the ghosts are like, we're going to haunt this house and there's just no one around to, get scared.
I always thought ghosts could just go through objects.
No, we discussed this already.
Oh, we did?
You and I.
Oh, okay.
No, because ghosts, I feel like they always utilize, they go through a doorway, they walk upstairs, even though they float sometimes. I feel like they still work within the parameters of what people have built. Could be from habit. Maybe when they were alive, they're so used to doors and stuff that they're just, always shaking them.
I like how the ghost doesn't seem to be too bothered. He's just sort of like, that's odd, and just keeps going.
Well, you figure this ghost has been around for hundreds of years, so they're just used to it. Also, ghosts, they need to shake doorknobs and just to scare people. So if they just floated through, otherwise ghosts, I think, would just like glide over the ocean. They'd be in Iceland and stuff. They really need to like be in houses in the Northeast.
That makes sense. Did you have any experience in sound effect work before, like doing Foley or anything like that?
No. There's like ADR I've had to do for TV shows where there are some efforts you have to do sometimes, like if you're doing something animated, but it's different. It's very actual objects. Or Foley I've never had to do, unfortunately. It's funny because like, we've all seen, like we've watched like, the making of whatever movie. And when you see the Foley artists, it does seem exciting. You're like, oh, that's how they do it. I'm surprised that, we don't all get to do it more.
There aren't a lot of Foley jobs, I can't imagine. And there's probably less now than there ever was.
Probably. But maybe there's a pop-up we can open at a strip mall that's like, come in and do Foley. Do you know what you're doing right now? Oh, you just did bowling pins. Oh, I can't believe it.
Sword fight.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Walking with sneakers, walking with shoes, all that stuff. And it always seemed to be marching. Every time I've seen like the making of anything, it's like, and this is what we use for marching soldiers.
Right.
So,
or like punching stakes or something like that.
Yeah, there's always some trick that they've done.
Was there anything in the making of this record that like surprised you or was more difficult than you thought it was going to be and you had to like scrap?
Oh, a ton of stuff. First thing was, anytime I tried to, I did everything in studio, but there were some things I had to get out. I guess I'll call it out in the field. So I tried to get sort of outside sounds for all the nature ones for camping. So I just went to my backyard just to get whatever, trees and birds and stuff. And it's really hard because after 15 seconds, somebody beeps, there's a helicopter, there's something, and it's just really surprising. And I tried to get some out on the street. I recorded some of this I was in Ireland for a while.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. So walking around there, same thing. Even like some doors closing and stuff. I tried to do stuff that would be like a European building closing the front door. And there's just always some extra noise. So I just didn't realize how controlled sound, has to be. That was one surprise. And then the other is the more jokey I was, the more I tried to lean in on something being comedic, the worse it came out. The colder I made things, the more I sort of kept things, I'd say even boring, the better. Then it turned out more funny.
How much were you trying to go for jokes?
Someplace like in between. It's like not quite a joke. Something that's like still usable, but then the joke being like, wow, that's a really specific sound. So one of the first ones I did was closing. I did a lot of car door closing a car door. Closing a car door of your own car. When you're really familiar, there's a sort of slam that you have because you've just done it a million times. But with rentals, you're sort of a little tentative. You don't know if you've locked it. So there's like a little bit of a joke in it, but I still wanted it to be real.
Right.
So it's like an observation, but at the same time, hopefully someone can use the sound of someone closing a car rental door.
Mm-hmm. How do you imagine people using this record?
My guess is that like someone will play it for their friend and go like, guess what this is? Oh, it's a sound effect. And they'll sort of a version, if it's on vinyl, fast forwarding, meaning like you just move the needle around. Like, how about this one? But I feel like it would be nice in like a year, like something a little later where someone actually does go, I need a sound of this bottle breaking for my movie. I'm just going to use this one. It's right here. It's newer. So,
right.
So something like that. The tracks that have actors on it, there's a couple, might be harder to use because you need their permission. Other actors who have been on it, but any of the ones that are, just me or a sound of like whatever glass breaking, or I think there's some tools. There's like a hammer, or a saw, like tentative sawing. Those I just feel like go crazy. I hope they get used.
I was wondering about what are the sort of legalities? Did you think about that as far as like people using these things in their own projects?
I did. And then I sort of let go of the thought, I was like, oh, how does this work? And, are there unions for sound effects? I don't know. It's almost like a theoretical album. You know what I mean? I'm theoretical, mean like it should feel like a library album and hopefully you can use some of it. Then I just let go. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's no way that I would ever be. It just should feel like it's like free to use. You know what I mean? It's like something you can access or something.
Right.
And I just feel like there's so many content out there anyway. I'm like, who? It just seems like more for the fun of it and whatever, however people use it. I great.
In making this record, did you have an idea in your head that there is maybe a project that uses all 101 of these sound effects?
Oh man. If that ever happened, in a way it would be like a dream come true and I would congratulate that person. Because projects, it doesn't have to be like a big TV show. It could be like its own whatever, like independent film or just whatever, so.
Radio play.
Yeah. It seems easy enough because like the volume of whatever the sound effect it is can be so low in the mix anyway. So like, it's not like it has to be the starring role. There's one that is like, there's a bunch that are audience members. Mm-hmm. And on the other side of it, it's, it's empty. All that you hear is the audience clapping or whatever. I think there's one that's like sparse audience clapping. And so all you have to do is do the other side of it. You'd be the, performer and you'd hear this clapping.
Right. A few of the titles just made me laugh reading them, like Disappointed Crowd Dublin, Thrift Store Perfunctory Search for Halloween Costume, and especially walking into a video room at an art museum and walking out quickly, because I've definitely done that more than once.
Yeah. It's weird because it's great being at a museum. It's like, well, this is a great way to spend the day. But when there's the that room that has like a film running, I always feel intimidated for no reason, just the sort of seriousness of it, of like, we're really showing this film or video.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like I'm intruding, even if there's nobody in the room. I feel like I'm intruding. I just step in and just like step out. Like, I went and I saw this video from 1975 or something, whatever. So I just pictured like scratchy video and scratchy noises. What were the other ones you mentioned? There was
Thrift store perfunctory search for Halloween costume.
Yeah, like usually on Halloween, you're like, I'm not dressing up. Oh, I got to go to this thing. Oh, fine. Here, I'll just grab, whatever, this safari jacket. You're just, do they have medium? That sort of rushed, I guess I have to buy something.
I'll be wacky 70s guy or something like that.
Yeah. And there's a way that you do, when you're at the store, that you just sort of, you're not thrilled to be like, whoa. You're more just, where's my size?
You mentioned that you have a few actors on here. I definitely could hear Tim Heidecker. He feels like he's on some of the camping stuff.
That's him.
And Mary Lynn Reiskub, she's in some of the early things. I want to, maybe like when the glass breaks and she says no problem or something.
But that's Ricky Lindholm. Mary Lynn is on the music ones. So Mary Lynn, there's one that is called Sound Check, Sound Person and Band Agree Too Much. That tends to happen with bands where the sound guy's like, sounds great. And the band goes, great. And they just sort of go back and forth just saying, this is great. So Mary Lynn's the singer of that band as they exchange. And she's also in a bunch of those crowds.
Okay.
So there's a Romanian crowd at a rock venue getting an encore, like stomping. And she's in there.
I could not figure out where Bill Hader is on here.
Oh, he only wrote one of the tracks.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying like wrote is a sort of pretentious way to put it, but he came up with the first track. Because when I told him about the album, he was like, oh, you should start it with a sound effect of a needle going on a record. So that's his idea. I guess I own royalties for that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, side note, I really thought that would be easy to get. And that's a very difficult sound to get because I didn't want it to sound scratchy. A lot of people do it and it's like so scratchy that you're like, well, who would play this record? I wanted it to just sound clean, but still like a needle on a record. So what that actually is the end of a record. Like at the end when it like the run out groove.
Mm-hmm.
I just put it on there so that it lasts a little longer. So it's not just a click.
I like the packaging on the record, which is clearly an homage to the Jam. Am I right?
Yes. And I can't call the album the same thing. I mean, I guess I did in a way, but different spelling.
Right.
I love the Jam and I love the Style Council, so that's an easy tribute.
Do you have a preference for the Paul Weller eras?
I love Style Council the most. I still listen to them, and there's something about like the optimism of him with his new band that I just love it. I love the energy of it. Shout to the Top is just the best. Ever Changing Moods is great. I mean, it still sounds great. I love Style Council.
It's that era of the 80s when people were faced with a lot of oppression, but felt like they could like really change the world with music even.
Totally. There was like an uncomplicated, we can do it. I really liked it. I like the simplicity of that, And even without lyrics, I'm saying there was like still a sort of optimism, like, come on, we can do it. I know we can, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really funny listening back to like, I love that we, everyone listens to all eras of music now. It's kind of nice that it's all mixed up, but I think like there's a misconception of the 80s because you only think of synth. The more I hear like the sort of, like let's call it the new wave hits, there's a lot of like saxophone and xylophone or whatever, marimba, or there's like a sort of tropical thing going on that doesn't get acknowledged that much.
Your Haircut 100s.
Exactly. Haircut 100. I was also thinking of Aztec Camera. There's this kind of, tropical thing happening that I don't think it has a name. We should come up with, how like they came up with yacht rock later, we should come up with something for new wave that's tropical. Xylo wave,
maybe marimba wave,
marimba wave, something like that.
The English Beat had some marimba on their records.
Yeah.
The guy who produced those albums, Bob Sargent, I think he was a marimba player, and he like put him on anything that he was working on. Like there's this band, the Wooden Tops, and he produced their album Giant, and like there's marimba all over that record.
Really?
Too. Yeah.
I had to see this. I didn't know. You're ahead of me with why these things happen. Wooden Tops, were they Scottish?
They were English.
Okay.
They're still around, actually.
Oh, nice.
You're talking like right in Haircut 100, the Wooden Tops, and Style Council. That's like very much like the center of the Venn diagram where I am, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Where that is. And it's just pleasant to listen to.
Yeah. And like ABC sort of fits in there. And
definitely. And then like there are a bunch of bands also who like will have one song that like lends itself to that. If we could find that name or like a way to just do one playlist of all that stuff, maybe I'm sure someone has, but.
Well, I'll start work on a playlist on that.
Okay. For real, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Your album is kind of esoteric. You've been with Drag City for a long time, put out a lot of different things. Have you ever brought something to them and they've said, no, Fred?
No, we're friends enough that like they know that if I want to do something that I mean it, you know, that it's not just it's something that I, you know, want to do. And I also wouldn't present anything to them that was like prohibitive, you know, or like overly expensive or like, you know, I understand everyone's parameters. So it's just, yeah, it's an easy relationship. They've always been great and supportive, and also they always add to it. Like for this album, for the sound effects album, I can't remember how it came up, but we came up with this idea for a CD single of just one of the songs. So that might be on its way.
Would there be B-sides?
Those CD singles, you remember that they always did have like 2 other versions of the song or whatever, but I don't think so. I don't think I should have done a remix or something.
There you go. Yeah, like in England in the 90s, it was like a way to like get singles to go higher in the charts because they would put out 2 different CD singles and both would have different B-sides and people would want to buy both.
They had a real system. For me, I think CD singles are more of just being a completist so that I had everything by whatever artist. I remember Prince had a whole bunch.
My closet is full of boxes of Britpop CD singles that I'll never do anything with now. But
you don't have it on a shelf on display or anything?
No, my apartment in Brooklyn is too small. So most of my CDs are in a closet and I have my records out and they're already spilling out all over the place. So too many of those.
CDs are not that CDs need like someone to say that they're great, but like I will say that like CDs have been really great for travel, for like buying records if you're in another country or something. And now I'm sort of like, I have them on a shelf and I'll just find stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't think this exists on vinyl. There's one that I found of this band 9353 from Washington, D.C. Are they from Baltimore or D.C.? And I just can't find it anywhere else. Like I like that because I don't think it's streaming. I didn't find any. Maybe it is, but I'm finding like little nice surprises with CDs.
Physical media definitely, you know, has its bonuses.
Oh, agreed.
You're about to start touring, right? In September and October?
Oh, yeah. Every couple months I'll go out and do a tour.
Have you figured out how to play this album live yet?
There's one track I've been doing live for a little while. So it worked its way in backwards. And that's the sound of, in a well-reviewed movie, the sound effects of household chores is very loud. They always mix it. If there's a movie that's like up for an Academy Award, that the sound of cooking and cutting food is always like it's, you know, front and center. So on stage, I've been doing this washing clothes by hand in a wash bowl, you know, like in the early 1900s, that sound of like washing clothes, that wet sound of, you know. So yeah, I do bring around like this bowl with me, this big metal bowl, and I put like a towel in there and I just wash it. And I put a mic down into it. What's funny is it doesn't really get a laugh people don't like go, oh, what a great joke. But there's something about it that I like doing.
I was mainly making a joke about playing the album live. I didn't really figure that
No,
you did.
I know. I was like I should have acknowledged the joke better. But it was almost like I was like saying like, oh, that's funny. But by the way, there is one that I actually do.
Mm-hmm. But it is interesting that like the way that you've incorporated music and comedy for so long, like going back to what was the complicated drummer's name? Jens Hammelman?
Jens Hanneman, yeah.
Yeah. I saw you do that in Brooklyn at this place, Sound Fix.
Whoa. That's one of my earliest, like, trying to do stuff live. And yeah, that was, all of this stuff is just stuff that I see and I'm just like, oh, there was, at the time, 2007, there were a lot of drum instruction DVDs where they have close-ups of the hands and feet and stuff. So it was like a, oh, I want to make one too kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with the sound effects record, that it's like, I remember them and then I'm like, oh, why not have an extra one?
On the subject of comedy and music, I just read earlier today an interview with David Byrne where he said that you convinced him to try stand-up.
Yeah. We did a show in LA at this place, Largo. And yeah, he came up and did a set as a comedian. Because he's so funny. Clearly, he's just such a funny person and funny performer. All of his ideas and everything, that it was like, that was a no-brainer. That was like, why don't you just do the comedy part and you're there? And he did great. And the audience loved it. And I could tell that it was like for real. They weren't just because it was David Byrne. But it was really funny. He did stuff with slides.
Oh, okay.
So he commented on slides. So like, it was a real performance of like, it was great. But his lyrics are always funny.
Did it take much convincing?
It's almost like he was already there. It was more like, well, okay, well, why don't we just do a show? But none of it was like, come on, man. It wasn't like that. It was more like, let's do a show. Let's make this fun. But he was a natural. I mean, it just made so much sense.
Do you remember any of the jokes?
Well, you have to look at the slides too. So yes, but it wouldn't, you need to see what he's saying.
I do want to bring up, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about Wednesday, which is back. The 4th episode is a real tour de force for both you and Fester.
Oh, thanks for saying that.
Yeah. It just seemed like that was a very fun episode to do, from the hotel room to the insane asylum stuff.
Man, it was so fun. And, it's weird because like, it's such an easy thing to say. This was fun. But you can see it's evident that anyone doing that would have a great time, especially like insane asylum stuff. When it's Tim Burton, like it has a look and a feel to it. I really loved it. It's great getting into that gear. It's great, getting to act like Fester. I love it. I loved every second of it. That was truly fun. And that was all in Ireland. So that's like the added like, wow, I'm in this cool place doing this fun thing. And yeah, really, really, I thought it was well written, really funny. And yeah, it was great.
And that episode was directed by Tim Burton, right?
Yeah.
Did he direct any of the episodes that you were in the first season?
No. Okay. But he was around, but he was a producer on it. But
right.
This was the first one he directed.
And so what was that like, being, working like with him as directing you?
He's really, it's in a way it's easy, but meaning like he trusts the whole thing. He's like, we got it. Let's just do it. Meaning like the set is already there. Everything is already, all you need to do is kind of keep the story moving. So he doesn't do that thing of like, now imagine, don't forget, like he's just very like, look, this is what's happening in the scene, action. But he's great. I love that guy. And there's like two things. There's like, he is Tim Burton. So I also want to do a good job. So that's the other, level of it where I'm also at my best. I love, not that there's anyone who I wouldn't do my best for, but I'm saying this was a case of like, do the best Fester I can. But he's great. He's really funny. He likes talking about old movies. We were watching videos of this TV show. These like chimps, these monkeys were like acting out scenes.
Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp.
I think that's the one. That's the one. Man.
And they had like a 60s like go-go band or whatever. Like,
I cannot believe, man, you are the equivalent of me looking something up, of Googling something. You're like a human that you came up with that name without looking anything up. And then also that run of bands from that era.
you're just like tapping into like my core material here. That's all.
Oh, good.
Yeah. In that episode, you sing Foreigners, I Want to Know What Love Is. Was that in the script to do that song, or did you try out a few different songs?
Oh, no, that was in the script. In fact, I think we recorded first at a studio because you need to hear it from a distance. So there's doing it in the scene, but then you really needed clear audio of it. So that might have been one of the first things I did. It's supposed to sound like I'm sort of really ad-libbing to it, like meaning like over singing it. But no, that was way in the script. In a way, talking about that run of bands, I know Men at Work wasn't in that scene, but let's just say that they were influenced by it. Like Men at Work is in the zone of whatever that is.
Yeah, I agree. They did vaguely reggae things.
Yeah, saxophone and, so not quite in the sort of marimba wave. They could be on the compilation and you'd be like, okay, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like the glammiest version was like maybe Duran Duran. Not quite, but there's a couple songs that almost kind of could, they're not on the compilation, but they're an echo.
Yeah. And even like the Slits could be on there.
Yeah, that's true. Fun Boy 3, kind of?
Fun Boy 3, 100%. Yeah, they had tons of marimba, especially on the first album.
I'd put them on there.
Yeah.
Make it a fun compilation.
We've got almost like a CD's worth at this point now.
Yeah. Now, Swing Out Sister.
That's more...
Yes, that's more something else, but that's a ripple.
Definitely like a ripple off of Style Council, like whatever, Sophistipop or,
Is that a real term?
That is a real term.
Oh, man. I love it. Sophistipop.
Yeah. So Prefab Sprout and maybe the Associates fall into that.
Wow. Okay. I guess on the more pop end, maybe Sade is like...
Yep.
Came from it. But wow.
There was a club in London where Sade's band they played every night or something, and all these other bands like...
Wow. That must be a hard scene to be in, because a scene is all about like, oh man, we're really, roughing it. And it's, so our amps are bad. So what? This is our scene. That is a little bit like, no, you've got to be in tune.
Mm-hmm.
The tempo's got to be right. So it's a weird mix of like, it's us against the world. And then, okay, let's careful with the volume.
And you've got to have really nice clothes but also look like that they were probably bought secondhand, but
something in there.
Feels like they're from the 30s or 40s.
Yeah. Boy, the 80s love the 30s and the 40s. Why am I saying they? That would have been me.
Yeah. We were teenagers then. I think we're about the same age, so.
Yeah, I was a teenager in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked all that stuff more than like punk. Just for me, that's where I grew up. Like it was easier to get those records than it was to get punk. So.
Well, I did a weird thing that I think a lot of people did in the suburbs, which is mix the two as if they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, I know it makes no sense, but it was like the same part of the record store, or it's like the same genre-ish, I know that's a weird way to look at it, but, Captain Sensible had Happy Talk and He's from the Damned, and it just made sense.
I feel like back then also the imports were cheaper. They were all from this company called GEM, JEM. They had stickers, and there was like an import section, and you'd go and find like Dead Kennedys 12 inches, but also
Spandau Ballet
or something like that.
It's British, and they had short hair, so I was like, it's in the same zone.
Back to Wednesday for just a second. There was talk for a while of an Uncle Fester spinoff show. Is that still a possibility?
Yeah, there's still, that's all them. They just work on stuff, and it's all the same writers and creators and showrunners. These two guys, Al and Miles. And I think they were making sure season 3 was sort of taken care of first.
Is there anything else that we need to know about your record or the tour coming up or anything else you got going on?
No, I feel like because, the record is like, that's plenty. I'm like really excited that you're covering it. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course.
And that's plenty. And touring, I love to do it. I love doing those shows. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, Wednesday, all those things.
One last thing, we as a last question, we do like an off the top of your head, ask you for 5 records that you think everyone should own. You don't have to think about it too much, just whatever comes to mind.
Real Estate, Atlas. Don't think too much. The Judy Sill album from like 1971. Judy, Judee Sill, which is kind of like folk, but there's something about it that's special. I'll just say that. Don't think too much. I think everyone should have Sandinista. Nice and long and really gets into all kinds of music.
Kids are singing on it?
Yeah, that's right.
That version of Hitsville, UK,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Hitsville, UK, and also a version of Career Opportunities.
That's what I was thinking of, yeah. That's 3.
Come on, Fred. Don't think. Don't look around. Captain Sensible's collection. He's had a bunch of albums up. There's this one collection that's really fun to listen to. And everyone should have... I'm sorry, but I gotta say, Husker Du Zen Arcade.
Why are you sorry to say?
Because I've seen it on a lot of lists. People might be like, yeah, of course we should all have that. But I'm like, just to reiterate, that's a great album to have. Graham Nash's solo album from 1971 is pretty great too. But I already said my 5. Now I'm overthinking. Can't do that.
Fred, that's a great list.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much for coming on our show.
Thanks.
And good luck with the record. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks again to Fred Armisen for being on this week's show. His new album, 100 Sound Effects, is out now, so be sure to check that out. You can also catch Fred Armisen on tour and on the 2nd season of Wednesday, which is now streaming on Netflix. You can also listen to the Marimba Wave playlist based on our conversation, and the link for that is in our podcast description. Meanwhile, you should check out our other podcast, BV Weekly, where my coworkers Dave and Andrew discuss the week's hot button music news, the latest releases, and more. You can follow us on social media, and if you like this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, write us a review, give us 5 stars, and tell your friends about it. All that stuff really helps. Big thanks to our mix engineer Nick Gray and Michael Silverstein for the theme music. I'm Bill Pearis. Thanks for listening.